PantheonAI presents Trump's India tariff shock, Apple's $600 billion move, and Opendoor collapse. Welcome to the PAI Morning Briefing. I'm John, and with me is Sarah. Today is August 6th, 2025, and we have a lot to unpack. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, John, and good morning, everyone. I'm ready to dive in. So kick us off. What's the big picture with the indexes today?
All right, let's set the stage. The S&P 500 is up about 0.5%, trading around 63.41. The Dow is also up slightly, near 44,241. And the Nasdaq is seeing a nice little bump of 0.6%, sitting around 21,095.
So a generally positive picture, but not a clean sweep, right? I'm seeing the Russell 2000 is down just a bit, about 0.2%. It's a small dip, but it always makes you wonder what's happening with the smaller companies.
That's a great point. It's a classic sign of some underlying uncertainty. But on the flip side, look at crypto. Bitcoin is trading strong at over 115,000, and Ethereum is holding its own around 3,600. There's definitely some excitement there.
So we've got this mix of broad optimism in the big indexes, a little bit of caution in small caps, and then this continued buzz in crypto. What's the overall feeling you're getting from the market, John? It feels like it's holding its breath.
That's the perfect way to put it, cautious optimism. It's like the market is taking a deep breath before the next sprint. We're not in a full-blown rally, but the risk appetite seems to be slowly returning.
Right, and that cautious mood is probably a good backdrop for some of the major headlines making waves today. Where should we start?
Let's start with a big one on the international stage. Former President Trump has doubled tariffs on India to 50%. And this isn't just a simple trade dispute.
50%? Wow. So what's the strategy behind such a massive hike? It can't just be about India.
Exactly. It seems to be more about geopolitical alignment. India is the number 2 importer of Russian oil, right behind China. So this move looks like it has Vladimir Putin and Russian oil firmly in the crosshairs. It's a trade move with a strong geopolitical message.
That's fascinating. A ripple effect that will hit global supply chains hard. Okay, shifting from global politics to corporate shakeups. What's this I hear about Opendoor?
Well, their stock took a pretty big hit after their latest earnings report. But here's the twist. Marcus Lemonis from The Profit and now executive chair of Beyond Inc. has proposed a partnership with certain retailers.
That is an interesting idea. Bridging home buying with retail. Some are calling it, in quote, ingenious meltdown in the making. I mean, is it a desperate Hail Mary or a stroke of genius?
The jury's still out, but it's definitely bold. It shows how companies are being forced to innovate. And speaking of big moves, the Federal Reserve is making some noise. Neil Kashkari has hinted at a potential rate cut this September.
Ah, the classic Fed signal. For our listeners, that's always a double-edged sword, isn't it? A rate cut could boost the stock market, but it's also a sign the Fed is worried about a potential economic slowdown. It's that delicate dance.
A very delicate dance. And from the Fed to the White House, this next story is huge. Tim Cook is set to meet with former President Trump to announce a massive investment from Apple.
How massive are we talking?
The number being floated is $600 billion in total U.S. investment over the next 4 years.
$600 billion. That's just a staggering figure. It really underscores how deeply intertwined big tech and national strategy are now. This goes way beyond just selling products.
For sure. And staying on tech, let's talk about the chip wars. AMD's stock is facing some pressure, but there's a silver lining. Despite Nvidia's dominance in AI, analysts are actually feeling upbeat about AMD's potential.
I love a good underdog story. So the experts believe AMD can carve out a significant niche for itself in this emerging market? That's the kind of competition that drives real innovation.
It really is, which leads to another thought-provoking headline. The idea that this tech-driven growth boom we're seeing might actually be powerful enough to overcome the headwinds from tariffs and trade wars.
That's a really powerful counter-narrative. The idea that no matter the government policies, the dynamism of the private sector will ultimately win out. In a way, that's a very comforting thought.
It is, and we're seeing that dynamism in some big acquisitions. Blackstone is set to acquire the data analytics platform Inverse. At the same time, Apollo funds are buying a majority stake in a hyperscale data center developer.
So it's all about data infrastructure, data analytics. It's clear the investment giants see this as the future. Data really is the new oil.
Absolutely. And just quickly, let's look overseas. In the Forex market, the EUR-USD has been stretching higher, breaking a key level. And in the UK, The Bank of England is on course for what some are calling the slowest pace of rate cuts ever.
So cautious is the word of the day, from London to Washington. Okay, John, we've covered a ton of ground. Let's try to connect some of these dots. What does this all mean for different sectors?
Well, in tech, you have giants like Apple doubling down on domestic investment, which will have a huge ripple effect. And you have AMD showing there's still room for competition and growth, even against a titan like Nvidia.
And in the energy sector, it's all about geopolitics now. Those tariffs on India are a stark reminder that your energy investments are directly tied to global tensions. It makes a case for diversifying, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and the financial sector is watching the central banks like a hawk. The Fed hinting at cuts, the Bank of England moving slowly. It all impacts lending, spending, and bank balance sheets.
It's amazing how interconnected it all is. A policy decision in one country can echo through the tech, energy, and financial sectors across the globe. It feels like we're in a moment of real convergence.
That's the perfect word for it. So looking ahead, what's your take? Are we on the verge of a breakout, or is this cautious optimism here to stay?
I'm betting on measured progress. I don't think we're going to see a wild sprint, but more of a steady, strategic climb, especially with central banks being so careful. What about you?
I agree. I always say reading market trends is like trying to follow the plot of a thriller. Just when you think you have it figured out, a surprise tariff or an earnings report throws a new twist into the story.
So true. The market would be that friend who is both frustrating and exhilarating, always keeping you on your toes. Okay, let's recap the key takeaways for everyone.
Let's do it. First, major indexes are showing strength, but the Russell 2000 suggests some caution. Second, geopolitics are directly impacting trade and energy. And third, we're seeing huge corporate moves, from Apple's investment to Opendoor's pivot.
And don't forget the central banks walking that tightrope between stimulating growth and fighting inflation. The big picture is one of cautious optimism, driven by strategic innovation. So before we sign off, what should our listeners be thinking about?
I'll leave them with a few questions. How will these geopolitical tensions impact your energy investments? Will the Fed's potential rate cuts spark a real uptrend? And can a company like AMD truly challenge the dominant player in its field?
Great questions to ponder. This has been a fantastic discussion, John. It's clear we're in a time of significant transformation and opportunity. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
And thank you, Sarah. Remember, staying informed is your best tool. We invite you to come back tomorrow, and if you have any questions, be sure to ask our AI co-pilot.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and happy investing. PantheonAI, your information co-pilot.
Because learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Take care and see you next time.